Hello and welcome to the D Show. Yes, I'm Dr. D, and I hope you all are ready with your tea. I know it was a cheesy rhyming, but I liked it. So get ready, my dear friends, because today I'm bringing in a very special guest. But before that, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, you should right away spread it with your friends. My aim and agenda in life is always to make difficult conversations easy, and not just in your personal or professional life, but also from the world of sports or any world that you want to uncover some uncomfortable conversations. Because guess what? Pandemic has actually taken a toll on us, not just professionally, but also personally. We are all suffering it, trust me. Our celebrities, our sports stars, nobody has escaped the wrath of pandemic. And it's world over. But here my job is to bring those uncomfortable conversations, simplify it for you, uncover so many stories behind the scenes that happen in the world that is beyond our imagination, but definitely intrigues us. So a little disclaimer to all of you before I go forward. Don't forget that these opinions are merely personal, and any resemblance to anybody living, I just hope nobody is ever dead, but any resemblance to anybody living is purely coincidental. And these disclaimers and these notices are resonated by my guests as well. So get ready, because today I'm all set to bring in secrets, conversations, behind the scenes from the world of international cricket. Let me tell you that your comments and feedback are always welcome. So during the show, make sure you type it out, whatever you feel like, and my guest is open to live questions. This is the live show. I am the content provider, and I'm going to make sure that you enjoy every minute of the next 20 odd minutes that we spend together. Well, let's get started, and let me introduce here on the show none other than Grant Elliott. Grant, welcome.
Hey, Dr. D, how's it going? I feel like we have spoken for about 6 months, almost half a year, trying to get this right. Obviously because I've been traveling and I'm in quarantine. So your sentiments to everyone, I guess no one can hide from what's happening in the world. And I've got, I think, another 11 days to go. So Fortunately though, I've got a friend with me. So Martin Guptill is next door to me. So we had a little walk in the lawn today. So we get 50 minutes of walking a day. So it was nice to see someone, and equally as nice to be on your show and have a discussion today, even though it's going to be hard and testing. I know
that. But thank you. You know, one thing I think Mango people like me, we are very happy about that even stars like you from the sporting arena get subject to quarantine. There's no escape from that. No exceptions whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I don't think I'm a star. There's no such thing as stars in New Zealand, which I love. I don't think egos should ever be a thing in corporate or sports teams, in life in general. I think we're all equal. We're all on an equal playing field. But yeah, there's just, there's protocols to follow now, and it makes the world of traveling with work very tough and not as enjoyable as it used to be, I must say.
I can imagine. So give us a little insight into Grant Elliott's life in the past fortnight. You've been in quarantine now in your home country. So where were you?
Yeah, okay. So I was commentating in Abu Dhabi in the Pakistan Super League. And I was drinking a lot of tea, just like you were now, while we were commentating. We actually had a tea sponsorship. So we had to try and get the tea sponsor in every 3 or 4 overs and drink it with the commentator's cam. So that reminded me of that. So yeah, it was pretty heavy. We pretty much did sometimes 2 games a day, where we would leave the hotel at 2 p.m., get back at about 2 a.m., wake up, do it all over again. And we were confined to the hotel room, where, in the hotel room, we were allowed sort of an hour of swimming a day. And outside of that, you just get ready for the game, and then traveled back to New Zealand. and found myself in quarantine. So very much looking forward to seeing my family, to be honest.
I know, I can imagine. And, heart goes out to you. While on one end, I'm happy that your country is so strict about quarantine, no exceptions whatsoever, no negotiations there. I hope you get to see your family soon. In the meanwhile, I'm going to make you make the most of quarantine on the D show because, I've received so many questions. We fans, we don't see a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And let me just start the conversation with the canvas of the WTC final. What a match. What an iconic match, and congratulations to you.
Well, it was a nice match if you're a Kiwi, obviously, if you're a New Zealand supporter, but I'm sure there's a lot of Indian supporters that won't be agreeing with me. Yeah, amazing. I mean, when you think of how much heartache that New Zealand have gone through as supporters and as players, I mean, that World Cup 2019, I watched that, and I don't know if I could ever bring myself to watch that game again because there was so much heartache. And then, the previous World Cup, which I was involved in the final, we just didn't play well enough. So, redemption for New Zealand and a lot of those players that were in the 2019 World Cup, there were 7 of them that had experienced that real low, that failure. Well, it wasn't a failure. I mean, it was, the game was still tied, yet guys took it so badly that it was tough to get over. There's still, I guess the repercussions of that feeling that they had. Whereas now, the 7 guys that played in that final, it's redemption for them. It's kind of like the monkey off the back. New Zealand have finally got their first world trophy in cricket, which is fantastic.
Wow, it is a glorious moment, and amidst all the glory and the victory, I'm going to ask you a very easy question to begin with. That tell us one thing that you like about Kane and Kohli that makes them an exceptional leader or an exemplary leader.
Yeah, they are very different characters as leaders when you watch them. And I mean, I've been captained by Kane, but I don't really know Virat Kohli that much. But I have had encounters where I've met Virat, and I'd say just by watching, because I believe in sport, and maybe in business it's the same. You can have this persona on the field, like you have to be bulletproof. You have to believe that you're indestructible on the field. So you do whatever you can to give off that persona and that aura, because you don't want to show weakness when you're on the sports field. And you can't, because mentally you're facing someone who's bowling 150 kilometers an hour. And the last thing you want is to show your vulnerabilities. So when I look at the 2 players in their cricketing persona, I see Kane, who's very measured and very humble. And I'd say Kane leads by actions. And I think both captains do lead by actions. However, Virat, I'd say he shows his emotions, like he's, outwardly passionate and driven. So I think the humility that Kane shows, I think, is something that I absolutely love in a leader. And just the drive and competitive nature that Virat Kohli has, I think, is exemplary. Some people have that drive, but they just don't show it. But he chooses to obviously show it. That's in his character, and that's fine. It's just a different way of doing it. It must be exhausting for him, because I don't think I could show those sort of emotions in cricket. It would exhaust me in 6 days of cricket. But yeah, he's an amazing player, an amazing athlete, and I think they both are. I mean, cricket is a true test of your mental capabilities.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, since you're talking about cricket and mental capabilities, let me take you back in time to Johannesburg. And when you started and when you got out in this game, you have to tell me that one very difficult conversation that you had with yourself. Was there a tough time, or was it easy for you? Why don't you share something from there?
Yeah, it was really tough. I mean, I chose to play professional cricket. Well, it sort of chose me, actually. I was, at the age of 16, I was contracted as a professional. So you can imagine, at school, 16-year-old, I wasn't paid a lot of money, but it was enough money for me to, shout my mates, lunch and dinner. And, I had a salary at 16. So I had already chosen, back when I was 12, that I wanted to play international cricket. That was my goal. But then at 16, I was professional. So that my path was kind of already, arranged for me. And then at 23, I had a contract dispute in South Africa. So I was told I was going to be selected, and then I wasn't selected. So my agent phoned me and said, hey, listen, you're meant to be contracted, but you haven't been. So I phoned the coach, and he phoned me back, and he said, listen, I didn't know anything about it, but we'll offer you a coaching contract. And I said, I'm not a coach, I'm a player. And then I put the phone down on him. So that was a tough conversation. But I had the decision then was to go and play overseas somewhere. I couldn't play in South Africa anymore. So I chose to go and play in New Zealand. And it was a very difficult decision to make, because I was going from professional cricket to just amateur cricket. I was going to go and play club cricket. So I played there for 2 years, and I guess the rest is kind of history. Ended up playing for Wellington and then for New Zealand. So in hindsight, maybe a good choice, but it wasn't my choice. But having those difficult conversations with coaches leading up to that was tough.
I was about to come to that next. When you joined the Black Caps, tell me about one of those uncomfortable conversations that you had with either of your coach.
Well, I think it's always uncomfortable when you've been dropped. That's never a comfortable conversation for both parties, for a coach and for a player. But I do remember one of the coaches I had, and he was Australian, and he said to me, I wasn't playing for New Zealand at the time, but he said, listen, well, if you were any good, you'd be playing for New Zealand. You obviously have to change something. And I thought to myself, well, how can you say that to me? How are you telling me that I'm not good enough? And I went back, and I think I was at the age where I could reflect on things that people said. And some things you take from people, and some things you don't. You will take it in, but you won't act on it. But this I acted on, and I thought, you know what, he's right. Like, why am I not playing for New Zealand at the moment? Because I was picked and dropped so many times in my career.
Wow.
The number of times I can tell you, I wasn't just plain sailing. I wasn't picked and then just carried on playing. I was picked and dropped numerous times. And I reflected on what this coach said, and I said, you know what, he's right. I need to change something. And if I don't change it, I'm going to be in the same position. I want to be one of the first names on the list rather than number 11 or number 12 and just making the team. So I changed a few things, and I became a much better player for it. So, the ability for someone to come to you with honesty and transparency and then see how you act on it. And even though it was done in quite an aggressive way, I still I reflected on it. And it's such a difficult thing to do in sport when you've got an ego. Most sportsmen have got egos.
I
agree. They don't want to hear anything negative towards them. So to have an open mind is so important.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail. In 2015, you became a household name after your picks and drops. But then you had your defining moment. And what an epic moment it was with Dale Steyn, that entire image and pictures etched in all of our minds. And that actually brought New Zealand team right up to the top and to the global forum. At that point in time, I want to ask you, everybody knows about the successes, but I want to ask you that when you defeat because there is a picture on Google where you're going and helping Dale Steyn up, but is there any uncomfortable conversation that you have with your fellow players or colleagues from the other teams? Have you ever exchanged some uncomfortable words?
No, there's obviously there's sledging in cricket, which is just I call it mental disintegration. That's what the opposition tries to mentally disintegrate you and make you doubt yourself.
I didn't say that. You are saying that.
Yeah. Everyone in life, what I've realized with sports as well, has fear of failure. You can't, no, anyone that says they don't fear failure is lying, in my opinion. Everyone fears failure and you read the books of Nadal and Federer and Agassi and the tennis stars, and you go, wow, these guys are indestructible, and it's an individual game, and they still fear failure even though they're top of the world. So I think that the ability to be able to take this mental disintegration or this sledging on field to try and get you off your game is actually a compliment. It means that they actually rate you as a player, because if they didn't rate you, they wouldn't say anything on the field. So I used to actually try and embrace it, and I just used to have a little bit of fun with it. And even though on the inside sometimes I was really angry, I tried to give that outer exterior that I was under control and I was calm, because when you're not and you're too emotional, and I think that this goes with business as well. If you're too emotional with the decisions you make, you're going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing sometimes. It just needs a little bit of calmness and clarity, because when the adrenaline is going, you can make some tough and stupid decisions.
Yes. So tell me, I mean, if I take the liberty, was it a tough and a stupid decision to retire?
No way. I used to love training. So I used to love going to the nets. I used to love trying to get better, because I always thought, you can always get better. There's always something you can train. For example, like a coach might say it's optional training today. Now, if people don't arrive there, either it's to get a little bit of mental freshness, and that's fine, but otherwise everyone should arrive. There's always something you can work on. And I felt that when I didn't want to work on my game anymore, I felt like that was maybe when I should retire.
Wow. Oh, that is very matured, and like they say in like Mango People's world, growing up decision. Because a lot of cricketers that I have interacted and dealt with in my career, they find it very difficult to let go. But yours was done in such a dignified way. You were very gracious about it. Yeah. So from there, you transitioned into the business world. And that transition, I've seen it rarely with a cricketer or a sportsman of your repute. Tell me the most difficult part of that transition.
I think the most difficult part of that transition is doubting yourself. I think, you play cricket for 20 years and then you go into this environment where someone has learned these skills for 20 years. And it takes a while for you to realize that, you have something quite special as a sportsman or sportswoman. And that is, if you've played for, 20 years and dedicated your life to it, well, you learn certain skills. And those skills are more team-based and motivational and drive and setting goals and the ability to bring a team together and go towards that goal. Trust, all those things that, are exhibited in high-performance teams. And I think that you bring that to the business. So I think if you stay with those strengths, I think that you can, obviously skills anyone can acquire. I mean, these days there's so many online courses. So I think when I look to employ someone as well, I look at the character of the person. And I think sports got the ability to create really good characters. And that's why I love the fact that this New Zealand team has won this Test Championship, because I think not only are they champion players, but they champion people as well. And I think that no matter what you do, the person and the character of the person is the most important thing when you're employing someone or when you're in business. And if you've got good character of people, then you're going to have that immediate trust. You're going to have, the reliance on each other and the respect for each other. And you've got the chance of producing the goals that you want to. Without quality people and characters, I think that then you're always going to struggle.
Wow. So let me just regarding people and regarding teams, I'm going to bring your attention to the Indian team. And feel free, if you're comfortable, to answer that. What is it that we can do more? Or where is it that we are lacking from winning it?
There's a couple of things that go into that test match. I think preparation is one. New Zealand were lucky. They played 2 tests against England before India arrived in the country. So they knew the conditions, they had their team sorted. India hadn't really played many tests leading up to it. The players were also, a little bit, probably the bowlers were a bit ginger. England is tough conditions, so the conditions played a part, but I don't think you can blame it on the players. I think the challenge for India and the players is the stardom. I think that they are celebrities and it's tough. We've
to
got
focus.
It so, yeah, and we've got it so easy. I mean, the expectations and the pressures on the shoulders of these players must be so immense. Whereas in New Zealand, Kane Williamson will walk down the road and have a coffee, and maybe some people will recognize him. Maybe they won't.
Oh, really?
Whereas, we saw Sachin Tendulkar in Napier. I remember when we played India, and he was sitting at a coffee shop and he was having a cup of tea. And people were walking past, and maybe they recognized him, maybe they didn't, but it wasn't this whole group
mobbing
of people. And I've been to India. It must be so tough for these players. So I think that's one thing that they need to try and embrace and get over, and find tools of coping, like the coping mechanisms that we learn as professional athletes. And it is there for you, the sports psychologists and the psychologists, and I've used them in the past, and you can't shy away from that. You need to be able to grow and try and get these coping mechanisms, but it's easier for New Zealand. New Zealand's always kind of been the underdog. We go into competitions in stealth mode where the media eye is not on New Zealand, and then suddenly
and then
like, oh wow,
kaboom!
Yeah, they're in the semi-final again, But we've always played, second fiddle in finals, and sort of won the Spirit of Cricket Award, which is great. But you still want to win the trophy, so it's nice to finally win a trophy.
Wow, these are some candid expressions, and probably a lot of insights that I'm sharing with all my viewers. Let me also inform my viewers, I don't know, Grant, if you're able to see comments, because I'm having a little technical glitch here. My comments aren't loading at all, because I was planning to pull the comments here. I don't know if you can see it on your laptop.
I can see a couple here, but I can't see any questions. Oh, here's one. How has the transition from being a professional sportsman to a corporate guy? We've sort of answered that. I can't really scroll the rest of them. But otherwise,
okay.
There's just a couple of questions here, statements inspiring. Epitomize what Kiwis are seen as: humble and nice chaps always. So that's nice, from Ankit Singh.
That's nice. Thank you, viewers. And sorry about this technical glitch, because I'm going to try to bring all your comments here so that Grant reads it and all my viewers read it. But here's something takeaway, for you all that Grant just shared with us. That as people, if we want to do well, we want our Indian team to do well, let's be fans of them. Let's connect with them. We have social media for that, but let's not make them gods, and let them just live their life and focus on the game for once, please. So Grant, I know I'm coming towards the end of the show, because my entire idea is to keep it crisp and, leave people hungry for more. And we are connecting again next Saturday, same time. That is the 3rd of July. And I do have some, comments on the phone here with me. All right. So Ankit Singh has, where Vishal Seth is saying, very inspiring to hear about transitions, and that too so humbly. Roma Manik is saying, great insights. Thanks for sharing. I think these are all cricket fans, and I wish I could read all of them. I'm coming to one more question to you, that Tell me about your difficult conversation back home with your wife. Because as sports, legends in the international cricket world, you travel a lot, you have gruesome schedule. I don't know how often your kids see you. And as fans, we don't really know what happens with your family life. Is it smooth sailing because a lot of married men will be inspired, or is it uncomfortable conversations there as well?
Yeah, I think that's one thing that, when you start playing international cricket, someone should really step in and get all the wives and girlfriends together that are new in the team and say, hey, this is what you can expect. I think we're lucky with the New Zealand team. They get to travel with the team on occasions. I found it very difficult to compartmentalize the fact that, my family was on holiday and I was working, and try and get out of that mindset that I'm working. I'm there to, score runs and take wickets. And I was quite serious in that way. And I couldn't just kind of like park cricket after I finished training or day before a game and just like fully relax with the family. So in general, the family didn't travel, but that was also because, young family. So I think it is difficult. It's all right now. I don't travel as much as I used to, but for the players, it's tough. And I think, I saw recently that England, they were due to potentially not see their family for 3 to 4 months because of the Ashes. And, when you've got a young family, and it doesn't make touring that much fun anymore, to be away from your family for so long. So it has to be managed in a way. And I guess, we all make sacrifices in marriage, in our relationships as mums and dads. And I guess, you make those sacrifices for a short period of time. So it takes a very understanding wife and family. But what do they say? Like, behind every successful man is a woman. So
True.
Yeah, I think, working in partnership is really important. But players need to be guided around that, because if your life outside of sport is not going well, your life with sport is not going to be good. Your on-field performance won't be good. So you need to be able to manage that. Wow,
I'm going to frame that statement that you said at last. And let me inform the viewers that for the next show, I'm going to have a rapid fire round. And Grant is going to answer that in one word. So again, Grant, I'm going to spook you with a rapid fire round. And whatever first thought comes to your mind in the next show, we'll have the viewers enjoy that visual and lots of, delight. So your parting words, how was your experience on the D show? Your parting words to me?
Yeah, well, I want some tougher questions from everyone who's watching. But no, it's great. It's really nice to be able to, I guess, help people that are struggling with quarantine, and maybe just give them a short bit of time out from their, daily routines, which can be a little bit monotonous and mundane. But, I think if you can find things that just try and inspire you and try and test your thinking while you're in quarantine, then perhaps it'll be a good time for everyone to gather their thoughts and be very successful outside of once the world stops spinning. But yeah, I really enjoy the fact that we've got this cross-cultural thing going. We've got an office in India as well, and I really do enjoy my Indian colleagues. They're fantastic. So, the ability to have sport which can galvanize and glue this relationship between India and New Zealand is fantastic.
Wow, that sounds great. And I'm glad I got to play a role between connecting the dots and also strengthening our relationships between the two countries. In fact, next time in the episode when we are meeting again, other than the rapid fire round, I'm also going to be asking you about your difficult conversations with your CEO. I know him as well, but it would be interesting to know what happens in the business world.
Yeah.
Where Grant...
Well, my CEO and I are really tight. We don't have many difficult conversations.
Yeah, so next time I promise you it's going to be a tougher round of questioning. But thank you so much for sparing your time in quarantine, and I hope we added value. I'm super excited. To all my viewers, this entire week you have to ask any question. Just DM me, reach out to me. Grant, you can reach out to across social media platforms. Tell us your queries, your questions, your feedback, your comments, and we'll be happy to address them on 3rd July, the next Saturday, same time, 11 a.m. Again, 25 minutes of interesting conversation where we don't talk about always the successes. Google Grant, you will see all the successes there, but I'm trying to bring you conversations where not many people know how Grant had to deal with some difficult conversations and he made them easy. So Grant, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks, Dee. Thanks to everyone in India.
Yeah, see you. Have a great time. Be safe and don't go for too long walks.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, once again. Well, this is the D Show, an endeavor to make difficult conversations easy. So if you like it, you like my content, you like the guests that I'm bringing in who are making some sort of difference to your life, we can all learn from everybody. So do that and inspire yourself, motivate yourself, share about the show with your family, kith and kin, because I'm going to be back with Grant Elliott next Saturday, 3rd of July, 11 a.m. here across these platforms where I'm going to connect. And hopefully at that point in time, technically, I'll be 100% in the live studio where I can pull all your questions and comments for the viewers to see. Take care. Have a great weekend in India. Cheers.